States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alt, Mr. Beistel, Mr. Calero, Mrs. Love, Mr. Miller, Mr. Polakowski, Mrs. Rose, Mrs. Shipley, Mr. Benz.
Here. 5 present. Let the record show that Mr. Calero, Mr. Polakowski, and Mrs. Shipley notified me that they would not be able to make this meeting.
Mr. Alt also notified us.
Okay. Citizens' comments?
Catherine Fike.
Everybody's happy to see me. I'm going to get paranoid. Chest puffed out with pride on 7/10/14, the administration unfurled the banner from U.S. News and World Report, declaring our high school an outstanding school. Applause filled the room. The great banner was spun around for all to see as the superintendent, Rhodes and Miller, crowed about our high achievement. Well, did any of you take the time or effort to learn what that banner signified? I did. The specific information that I am presenting has come straight from U.S. News and World Report. This is the methodology they used, and these are the exact numbers, the data for the Southmoreland High School, U.S. News and World Report. The research was done by AIR, a behavioral and social science firm. While it used state test results as benchmarks, they went on to factor in manipulative comparisons between our economically disadvantaged and minority students to other subgroups in the state. For the College Ready Index, the CRI, advanced placement students were measured by their scores on the AP tests. Our award-winning results for Southmoreland are as follows. 4 out of every 10 students cannot do math at a proficient level, D-. 3 out of every 10 of our students cannot read at that level, a C-. Of our best and brightest AP students, 9%, I want to repeat that number, 9% graduated from high school ready to go to college. That would be about 14 students out of an average class of 150 that we graduate. The top CRI, of course, is 100. Ours was a 13.2. Our teacher-to-student ratio is 1:14. Now let's see, who else got one? U.S. News and World Report gave out 2,688 of these banners. In Westmoreland County, 8 school districts got one. 50% of those districts were listed as failing schools on the Pennsylvania School Performance Profile. Our students did not earn any awards. This banner mocks and exploits our district's poverty level and our disadvantaged students. Schools with sky-high scores for achievement got nothing. Have we forgotten that Abe Lincoln was born in a log cabin and George Washington Carver was left to die by a fireplace because he was considered unfit to live? Talk about disadvantaged. But I need to publicly apologize for my stupidity when judging the board's response to this educational crisis. I actually believed that a C-, a D-, and F ratings would be a concern to them. In a moment of clarity, I realized that the board and administration are cheering our students' failure and the impoverished state of our district. When Penn Can rated our high school as a D-, I distributed this information at a board meeting. Tim Scott's response, he criticized Penn Can. Kill the messenger. But the banner, let's get to that. The people at the Pittsburgh Business Times, the cash cow sponsoring insurance companies, and U.S. News and World Report are laughing their collective butts off. They are howling at the dupes who are giving them free publicity, knowing that these phony awards with their names in bold print across the top will hang on school walls for years. Free advertisement for them by exploiting failing schools counting on the fact that no one, almost, will ever seek to learn the truth. For years, the primary goal of this board and administration has been kill the messenger, not face the truth and do what is right. It's time to act as adults who actually care about our kids. I am not the enemy. I am asking questions that need to be asked and telling truths that need to be told. I am the voice of all those who care about the fact that our children are not receiving the education they deserve. Are you going to accept and demand accountability, or are you going to childishly pursue killing the messengers? Are you ready to throw that propaganda banner in the trash where it belongs and instead focus your time and efforts on bringing quality education to our high school? Charlotte Iserbyt wrote the book, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. You have validated her thesis, and you are proud of it. Ladies and gentlemen, Rome is burning. Are you going to put out the fire, or are you going to play your violins as loudly as you can?
Thank you.
Minutes?
At next week's meeting, you'll be asked to approve the minutes of the June 30, July 10, 12, and 31, 2014 meetings. We will have those ready for you in your next week's packet.
Finance?
You'll also be asked to approve the June 2014 Treasurers Report, June and July 2014 bills payable.
Any questions on those? Some of that was in our packet. Discussion, old business?
Athletic Policy 123 was posted for the required 30 days, so we will ask that you adopt that as presented unless there's discussion or changes that you would like to make on it this evening.
Any discussion?
I looked at it again, and it seems to me it's going in the right direction. And I know one of the goals is to increase participation, and I have it right here in front of me. But I think one of the I really believe that in anything, one of the ways of getting increasing participation is in having achievement, winning, and that the two go together. And I like what is being proposed here. So I don't know. You're chairing the athletics. I don't know how you feel about it, Mr. Beistel.
I think everything's in the upswing, and I believe the way the policy is written, the new policy's coming out, and I think we all have to get together and work on this with the athletic department and everything else to make sure everything's in perspective. But I think it's in the right direction.
Anything else? FMLA policy?
That has also been posted for the required 30 days, and we will ask you to adopt the FMLA policy on the meeting on the 14th as well.
Any comments or discussion on that? Hearing none, new business, PSBA Delegate Assembly.
Right, at the voting meeting, you'll be asked to appoint voting delegates for the PSBA Delegate Assembly, which generally happens the 14th 2014 Delegate Assembly will meet on Tuesday, October 21st, and that will be in Hershey as part of the PASA PSBA Leadership Conference. So I don't know if you want to discuss who those delegates might be tonight, or maybe wait till next week when we have some additional members here to discuss.
Probably better to wait till we have more people, unless somebody wants to throw out anything.
I think one natural would be Ms. Rhodes as our representative on the PSBA, a regional representative, for at least if you're open to it this year, it would be natural to be one of the people to do it.
that? Are you open to that?
Yes, I am. Also, if anybody else is interested, be a good time to, probably like you suggested, we probably maybe want to wait and discuss maybe a little bit more next week. But yes, I'm open to it. That's fine.
Hearing nothing else, St. Vincent Prevention Project?
Every year, St. Vincent asks us to match the contribution of the Westmoreland Drug and Alcohol Commission funding in the amount of $1,020. So they have asked us again to do that. This helps to fund a range of prevention services provided to the school district by St. Vincent. That includes our drug prevention, our alcohol prevention, our smoking prevention and cessation, anti-bullying. So there are a number of projects that helps out with.
Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, is there anything else to add on?
The last item under new business I have, a couple of months ago, maybe it was last month, we asked you to approve a contract for the Bellafair Jewish Children's Bureau in Ohio. That was last year's contract because it had been sent to the wrong address. They now have the correct address, and we did receive a contract for the forthcoming year. So we do have one student that attends there, and we'll ask you to approve that contract as well. I think Peggy handed that out at your tables there this evening.
Yes.
Any questions on that?
What is the amount on that, round numbers?
It's expensive, Levi.
I know, it's
About $84,000.
It's
Is
in
that
number
right?
4 on
Pardon
that
me?
paper.
I just said, is that right?
Yeah, 84.5.
Do we have any idea about how much longer we're going to have to send this student there?
Well, the goal, and Mr. Clara can speak to this because he's been in contact with the folks, their goal there is to provide the intense services and get them back as soon as possible. Dan, do you want to speak to that a little bit at the podium?
The student in question was at another residential in Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, his issues were such that they needed even more care. I can't speak on the specifics here, but will later. The objective here was to get some of those in order so that he could come home and then at least be closer. I think it's very difficult for people to make that travel, and I'm sure that everyone would prefer him to be closer to us too, but unfortunately sometimes the needs of someone like that are very great, and you need a very specific set of care.
Generally, they said, what, 1 to 3 years, and then they usually are,
Yeah, they really try to eliminate some of those really major dangers or issues, and have a very great track record of doing that. Unfortunately, Pennsylvania doesn't have as many of those places who do these very specific things. And at this point, in speaking with Westmoreland Case Management, who also works with him, and they're involved in helping to do some of the work to help him be successful, they felt this was the place that was the best fit, best recommendation to get him to be a little bit more compliant and more successful.
We'll get a progress update on how he's doing.
I actually have one coming, yes.
Okay, good.
We usually do that in September. Thanks.
Yeah, I think we have to do what legally we need to do, and also what's responsible. I do sometimes really have misgivings about our culture of what can be done and how to allocate resources. And I say this, my uncle, by my same name, is Down syndrome diagnosed. So, and he lived 60-some years and died a few years ago. But he worked in a sheltered workshop all his life, or at least after there was one. He was in his late 20s that he could, and that made life meaningful for him. And I think he worked on about the level that he could. And when I hear this right now, our culture of saying that we're cheating someone by not paying him or her a minimum wage, I don't know. Somebody's living in a parallel universe. I am very thankful that he was able to work in a sheltered workshop. His parents were. my grandparents were. He was in meaningful. You can't do anything better to a person than to have meaningful work, work that is to your level. And I don't know what is the. And I know in our schools we bend over. We have to do what we have to do, and I don't know what the level. I'm not a specialist, and I don't know much about special education, and we should do what we can. But I sometimes, but I do think that much as our hearts go out and to anyone who's handicapped, what are appropriate levels in our society of using resources that are appropriate to the level of achievement that person can have and have a meaningful life. So it's just a thought. Yeah. I don't know the situation of this, and I trust you to be making the right judgment on it.
Any more questions or comments? Any other board members have anything for the group? Citizens' comments?
My first question is to Levi Miller. Levi, you made the statement, I believe, 2 meetings ago that Southmoreland was going to have an increase in student enrollment. Can you tell me what that number is and when it occurs?
I don't recall making that a statement, but go ahead if go ahead and make any. You obviously want to make a further comment. I don't recall making the statement. Could you go ahead?
Well, I just wondered how you knew that. Where did you, how you would get that information? Jack, do you have that information, how many students we're going to get?
At this point in time, no. I do know this week we had approximately 27 new enrollees. And we don't have our final figures.
No,
at
this was-
point in
this
time.
was the
Looking at the
projection, yeah.
state projections, PD projections, our enrollment is due to begin to go up according to the projections. I don't have those numbers with me, but you can access them on the website.
Okay. When I did look into this, there were several documents out there, and one of them consistently shows decrease after decrease after decrease. But one of them shows an increase in 2000, I think it's 16. The number that they gave on this particular one, it could be different than what you have, is we're going to get 6 new students. 6. That's our increasing student enrollment. But the second question I have, and Mr. Clara is here, and I'm glad he can help me out with this. Down at the bottom of the driveway at Dalverton, there's a sign that says this is a Governor's Award School for Academic Excellence. Now that building holds kindergarten and first grade, right? You'll have to help me out with this because I can't conceive in my mind what academic excellence for kindergarten is. But can you help me out with how this was determined and what it means?
Absolutely. The state designed for us school performance profile. You mentioned earlier that high school house, each school in the state has a school performance profile. And I know you're familiar with it. For our scores, that's a great question because we don't take national or state tests.
No, you don't.
They are based on third grade performance. They'll be the first tested age that you can gather the SSA information on students. So those students are attributed to us. We are responsible in that way for students.
Oh, so the third grade student scores put the sign in front of the primary center that has grades kindergarten and 1.
Right. We prepare them and they take the test as the first test that they take.
Incredible. That's incredible. Thank you.
Executive session for personnel.
I'd have a very brief comment about hormones renewable energy.
Executive session.
It almost could go either way. It's going to be so brief, but I'll make it an executive session. Just in in case somebody wants to talk about it.
Do we have a motion to adjourn to executive session for personnel and
Litigation.
litigation?
Commonwealth Renewable Energy
Commonwealth Renewable Energy.
Tax Assessment.
Need a motion. Motion by Mrs. Rhodes, second. Second by Mr. Beistel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?